This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning everyone. Shalom Aleichem. We're going to discuss a Sugya that actually appeared at the bottom of Lamed Zayin Amud Beis. We mentioned last week that we wanted to get into this subject. The Gemara on Lamed Zayin Amud Beis discusses a situation of a suffix, somebody who might be the son of the deceased, or might be the son of the Yavam. He is suffix ben Sheva l'Rishon, ben Teisha l'Achron. And the children of the Yavam that come to divide the Nechasim of the Yavam after the Yavam already divided the Nechasim of the deceased. So in other words, the deceased died, and his estate was split between the suffix and the Yavam. The Yavam said, look, kid, you're my kid. So since you're my kid, I get it all. And the kid said, no, I'm the son of the deceased, and therefore I get it all, so they divided it. Then what happened was, the Yavam died. And now the Yavam died, the suffix wants a piece of the action. He wants, especially in light of the fact that a month ago in Bezdin, the Yavam said, hey kid, you're my kid. So he said, okay, if I'm your kid, so let me inherit you together with your other sons. But the Bnei Yavam said, get lost. You're the son of the deceased. So he says, okay, if I'm the son of the deceased, then we got to revisit last month's court case, where I only got half, I should have gotten the whole thing. And they said, no, you got half, because they didn't know what to do. So you got half. Be happy you got that half. But now you're coming to say that you also get a share of the Yavam. Get lost. So regarding that machlokes, Rav Abba said in the name of Rav, Kam Dina, which means that the original court case was decided, and they split it, and that's not revisitable. It cannot be revisited. It's set. And now there's another case, and regarding the other case, the Bnei Yavam have a right to tell the guy, get lost. You have no right to take a piece of the action without a proof that you're a Yoresh. That's the sheet of Rabbi Abba. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, no, Hadar Dina. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, the guy gets to say, if you don't want to give me a piece of the action of the Bnei of the Yavam, then I should get the entire estate of the deceased. So Rav Yirmiyah says it's revisitable. And then the Gemara says, well, we have a case that's fairly analogous to that case, namely a case where a guy owned a piece of land, and he had the rights of passage to his land through the other field. What happened was, in the course of time, the field got lost. So the halacha is, it's a machlokes. The Tanakama holds, the Admoin holds, you have to go on the shortest route, but you for sure have a route. You have to take the shortest one, but you definitely have a route somewhere, even though you don't know exactly where it is, you definitely have a route. And the Chachamim say no. The guy could say, either I'm going to rip you off and you pay me $1 million, or get a helicopter, to get a hot air balloon to get to your land. So the Gemara has a question, what's pshat in the Chachamim? Doesn't the guy for sure have rights of passage? So the Gemara says no, because we're talking about, there are 4 owners now, and each one pushes him off to the other owner. So the Gemara says, so then what's pshat in Admon? Why does Admon say the guy does have a right to the path? And the Gemara says ultimately we're talking about a case where 4 people owned it. However, they sold it to one person. So right now, the former owner should be able to tell the one buyer, look, I for sure have a path here. And that is the opinion of Admon. Admon says that the guy could say to the owner, it's true last week I had no rights because each one pushed me off, but right now, miman of shach, I have rights. So Admon says, your rights are revisited. Even though you lost them, your rights are revisited. Hadar Dina. And the Chachamim say, no, Kam Dina, it was paskin last month. You don't have rights. So that decision stands. So the Gemara wants to say, Hadar Dina and Kam Dina by the suffix and the Bnei Yavam are exactly like Hadar Dina and Kam Dina in the case of the pathway. And then the Gemara says they're not dependent. And there's a reason why I want to go through the cheshbon, and that is, I I believe maybe what is most necessary in the Derech HaLimud today is in yeshivas of advanced learning, where they learn Rabbi Elchanan and they learn Rabbi Shimon Shkop. That's very nice, but you have to be able to, once you know what they're saying, read it back into the Gemara. There's sometimes a disconnect between the Lomdus and what the Gemara actually says. And, it's nice you can have ideas or you can have Rosh Yeshivas, Chidushim, but you don't really understand unless it works back into the Gemara. Okay, so the Gemara then says, no, the Machloikasin are not dependent on each other. Why? At first the Gemara wants to line up Reb Abba, like the Rabbanan, and Reb Yirmiyah, who holds like Admon. So Reb Abba says, no, I could say like Admon. Admon only says Hadar Dina in the case of the pathways, where the guy could say, look, my rights should be revisited, and that is because the guy has a Tainas Bari. The guy's Tainas Bari is, I for sure have a pathway. So if somebody has an absolute definitive taina, only then do we revisit it. Ma'ashein came by the case of the Safek and the Yavam, where the Safek wants to say, well, if I'm not a brother, I should be able to get the entire estate of the mess. Well, it's a taina Safek. He doesn't know what he's taining. He doesn't know whether he has rights to the estate of the Yavam or if he has rights to the estate of the mess. So it's two different tainas, but each taina is a tainas shema. He's a shema to get the estate of the Yavam. He's a shema to get the estate of the mess. You're right, the two shemas together give me cash. But he doesn't have a definitive taina on any one piece, as opposed to by the road, the guy says, I know I have a road. So maybe we only say that a decision stands in a scenario where, Reb Abba is saying, I would only go back and revisit a case if the person's taina is a tainas bari. But if the person does not have a tainas bari, then we say, whatever we decided was decided. It's a fait accompli. Right now you don't have a tainas bari, so we're going to stick with our original decision. Meaning we only reawaken a person's rights if those rights were tainas bari. On the other hand, Rabbi Yirmiyah, who says we do revisit the rights by the Safek Ubnei Yavam, says only over there we revisit the rights. Why? And in the case of the field, we would go like the Rabbanan, that we do not revisit the person's rights. We say, hey pal, yesterday you were stuck. So in other words, Rabbi Yirmiyah says, I would agree in the case of the pathway to the Rabbanan that kam Dina. Why? Why would I agree kam Dina? Because in that case, we're going to have the din stand because that was a definitive din. The din yesterday that you don't have a pathway is a definitive din. You didn't have a pathway yesterday because each one could push you off. So since it was a definitive decision, we're going to stick with it. Ma'ashein came by the Safek and the Yavam. It was not a definitive decision. What we decided the other day that you guys split it, it's only because we didn't know any better. We don't know who it should belong to. But because that wasn't a definitive decision, we don't have to stick with it. Okay, that's the cheshbon and the Gemara. Now the question is, what is the svara, what is the rationale behind kam Dina? Why can we not revisit a case? What is it? Once Bezdin, shuts the book, here they have the book open, okay, we shut the book, we make a decision, and no one could question us. I mean, why? There's new information. Why can't we revisit a court case? So, we have a Trumas HaDeshen. The Trumas HaDeshen was Rabbi Yisrael Isserlin. Rabbi Yisrael Isserlin was one of the Rishonim. His minhagim are collected in a sefer, one of my favorite svarim called Leket Yosher. And in the Shas Tshuvas, Rabbi Yisrael Isserlin, And the Shal Chuvas Trumas HaDeshen, he made up his own shilas. The questions he created the questions to be able to address them. That's Yodua. And he gives an amazing Lomdus over here. Why come Dina? Says the Gemara, says the Trumas HaDeshen. This is found in Simin Shin Yud. Asar HaKadosh Baruch Hu lahancha l'chol tzadik v'tzadik shay oilamais. V'damya mamish l'had amirim parak hachoyleitz. This is mamish similar to that which we say in hachoyleitz. Safek b'nei yavan shabal lachlek b'nechse yavan basar l'pag yavan b'hadei safek b'hadei safek nechse misna de ka'asi sveika amin de ka'asi sveika aminsa didei b'hadayu de b'nei yavam imanavshach. He's coming with the tanim imanavshach. Di bar yavam hu. If he's the son of the Yavam, imkain islay minsa ba'adayu, matana ba'adayu, he has a portion with them. Bar misnahu. If he's the son of the mes, imkain hahu palga the shakol Yavam kvar b'nechse misna, the half that the Yavam took yesterday in the estate of the mesna, delay, safek hulai, it's a safek that he got it. V'leis v'lei ha'pacha shebshnei ha'chalakam ha'elam mikach me'manav shach. Basically like this. Whichever one is less valuable, the suffix says, belongs to me. Either the other half of the mes's estate that the Yavam took, or a portion of the Yavam's estate, whichever one is less valuable, should be mine. And the Gemara brings the machlokes of Abba Savar. Kam Dina perish ahu palga the shakal Yavam kfar kamle. The half that the Yavam took already went to him. And the suffix cannot re-taina it mimanav shach machmas tzvias mamanacher because he has another taina. Rabbi Yevamos Daf hadar Dina perish hadina rishon shenasan kach sheyachla keyom ma'asavik chayzu mikach mimanav shach. We revisit the original case because now there's new information, and now the bnei yavam have to give to the suffix either the chelek of the estate of the mes or a portion of the yavam. Now, there's a Tosfos that we have to be aware of. Look at Tosfos Divrei Maschil. Amar Rabbi Abba. You have a Gemara? We're learning Yevamos, which is in Seder Nashim. Look at Tosfos Lamed Zayin Amar Beis Divrei Maschil. Amar Rabbi Abba. Kam Dina Dafka Basar de Paleg Aval Mekami de Paleg Lai. The whole Dina of Kam Dina is only if there was a court case and Bezdin divided it. But if they didn't really settle the original case yet, then of course that original case is revisitable. So the Trumas HaDeshen is just invoking the Tosfos over here, which we should have spoken out when we learned it, but at least we're speaking it out now. Because of Shama Tosfos, the Hadu Savar Ababa Kam Dina, Davka Labasar the Paleg Yavam Kfar B'nechsei Misna. Aval Eloi Paleg. They didn't divide Elchanan Munachim Adam with him, but the estate is just laying before them. Lach like moida the shakel suffik mimanav shach. He's moida that the suffik takes mimanav shach. Upasku roiv hamachabrim krab Abba. Most machabrim hold like Rabbi Abba Kam Dina. We still don't know why. You ready? Fasten your seatbelts. The nira hatam. The vaday svarahi la'olam the shakel suffik mimanav shach. Really, Rabbi Yirmiyah should be correct. That the suffix should be able to say, look, you can't have your cake and eat it. If I'm the son of the Yavam, I should get a piece of the Yavam. And if I'm not, then I should get the whole estate of the mess. Ela heicha de palag kfar al pidin. It's not the pshat that you can't question Bezdin. Asich daitoi v'nis yayish me'oi sechelek de shakal Yavam. He already diverted his attention from that portion. And he was miyayish from it, that the Yavam took. That money that the Yavam got becomes like the Yavam's money. So you can't retaina it. In other words, there's a din. It's basically Yush. You're mesiach das from it. You didn't think you'd ever get it back. So if you didn't think you ever get it back, you gave it up. You were miyayish. So the Yavam was kind of it. So you can't get it back. No. Yish works out Yish. So the Shach quotes the Trumas HaDeshen, and the Shach disagrees. The Shach says it works out Hefker. But it seems that if a Ganav steals it, the reason you have to give it back, even though the person was Miyayish, is l'chayra because Kishabas liyadai be'isr bas liyadai. It came to your hand be'isr. But in this case, it didn't come to the guy's hand be'isr. Bezdin awarded it to him. Elamai, Bezdin needs to revisit their decision. But since the person was Miyayish, so Bezdin gets to continue their decision. The person should return it because Yush is not alone. I think Yush is not alone is not good enough if it comes to the hand of the Ganav B'Isser, but here, L'chayra, it came to the Yavam's possession, Beheter. Bezdin awarded it to him. No? I think that's clear. Well,
this from the beginning when they made, so what? That's why it should stick. If something, a new fact came out, I could maybe understand. But there's no new fact to the case. The case is the same. There's nothing new. What has changed?
What's changed is the Yavam died, and now the guy wants to take a piece of the Yavam's estate, and they're trying to push him off by saying that he is the son of the mess. So he says, "Oh, if I'm the son of the mess, you got to decide what you want me to be." I can't.
Facts change?
The facts didn't change, but the factors changed. The circumstance
is changing enough to have to revisit it.
Yeah, because the reason why we split it before is because of the possibility that he's the son of the Yavam, but that possibility now opens up in a way for the suffix to get more money in the future, but now that future event came, and now the Bnei Yavam want to say he shouldn't get it.
I mean, if it's because of Yush, if Dina is because of Yush, so let's say in a situation where something definitive comes out, where we know now that the suffix is whether he's the son of the Yavam or he's the son of the Mes. If it's al Yush, then it's done. Do we say that now he could get it back?
No,
so
right.
Do a DNA test.
Yeah, correct.
Once it's come dia, even something definitive, even if you could say for sure right now that he's either the son of the Yavam or he's the son of the Mes, the money's lost.
Correct. He gave up. Right. You cannot turn now. I want to read this back in the Gemara. Because Rab Abba says, I could hold like Admon. Admon only says, in his case, that your rights are revisited. Why? Because now Miman of Shach. Remember, let's try to work it back into the Gemara. Apparently, Rab Abba holds of Yush, and what does Rabbi Yirmiyah hold? I guess Rabbi Yirmiyah holds the guy's not Miyayish. Right? So let's read it back into the Gemara. Rab Abba says, I could hold like Admon. Admon only said, in the case of the pathways, the guy could say, I should get a share because Miman of Shach, I have a pathway now. But I don't understand. Why don't we tell the guy, what do you mean you have a pathway now? You were Miyayish of ever getting that pathway back. Didn't you give up hope of ever getting that pathway back? When it was owned by 4 owners, so you were miyayish of it ever getting back, of you ever getting it back. I guess you have to say that since there is a possibility that would one day, you know why you're not, maybe Rabbi Abba said you're not miyayish in that case. You know why you're not miyayish in that case? Because it's possible that what? It's possible that one day somebody might own the whole thing. Doesn't really fit in that well. I mean, what would Rabbi Abba hold? If Rabbi Abba holds that when a case is decided, the person gives up hope. So in the case of the pathway, it was owned by 4 people. Why wouldn't the guy have given up hope?
In case one day one person would own it, so he knows that he has a tinus bari.
I mean, Asi, let's say you have the 4 houses on your block. What's the likelihood of one guy buying all 4, and then, I don't know. I mean, it's a little far-fetched, no? How about what about the other way around? The Gemara says, Rabbi Yirmiyah doesn't buy into Yush, right? Rabbi Yirmiyah says, I could hold even like the Rabbanan. The Rabbanan only said Yush over there. Why? Because, how did we read the Gemara? Only by the case of the pathway, where there was something definitive, where we definitively tell the guy, you have no rights, then he's miyayish. But maybe in the case of, that might work out. In the case of the Suffolk and the Yavam, where maybe the Suffolk realizes that Bezdin's not giving a definitive psak, it's just they're giving a psak mitara Suffolk, so then maybe he's not miyayish. I don't know. I'm not sure how well the Trumas HaDeshen fits into the Gemara. In other words, what's Reb Abba saying? I could even say like Admon. Admon only says we revisit because the guy now has a definitive taina, but yesterday he had no taina at all. So why wasn't he miyayish? Okay, so you ready? I think now we're going to do Rabbi Elchanan. I think Rabbi Chanan's mahalach reads better into the Gemara. If we could figure it out. Rabbi Elchanan gets into the Sugya of Takva Kohen, which is not a Sugya that I want to get into right now. Considering it's one of the more difficult Sugyas in Shas, the basic thing you need to know about Takva Kohen is that if a Kohen grabs Truma or Meiser that may or may not belong to him, and he grabs it misafek, we take it away from him. So Rabbi Elchanan wants to know, this is in the Kovetz Ha'aras, if you have one, Siman Ayin Aleph, Ois Vaven Zayin. Says Rabbi Elchanan, V'hashta, by the way, do you understand my question? In other words, I'm asking, according to the Trumas HaDeshen, that the reasoning of Kam Dina is Yush, why would the guy not be miyayish if presently it's owned by 4 people? You're saying because of the remote possibility that maybe one day it will be owned by 1 person? Doesn't sound like a very likely outcome for the guy not to be miyayish, but I don't know. Okay. Rabbi Elchanan learns it's a din in chazaka. Lemaskanas hagemara. The takva kohen meitzia miyadeh. The kohen grabs it, we take it away from him. V'imkein hu eitzal ha-muchzak b'taras vaday shaloi b'taras safek. So now, it's by the muchzak as a vaday. Eza din vadayhu. What kind of din vaday is it? Imhu kedin bitul b'roiv? Shadin mishtana idei bitul v'achinami kein? Mar Rabbi said there's a din bitul b'roiv and there's a din holchin achar roiv. What's the halacha? Some chazer schmaltz falls in your chicken soup. What's the halacha? A big pot of chicken soup. It's batal. Let's say, but you're eating it. You're not eating it. It's not there. The din of bittul makes it that it's not there. The reality changes. So when the din of chazaka is like a din in bittul b'roiv, that it changes, the reality changes. V'hachanamikin dafilu kame shmaya galia shusha ruvein hamoitzi. Even if, let's say, klape shmaya galia, it belongs to Ruvain, who who's trying to take it out, the halacha makes it that it is the ownership of Shimon because he's the muchzak. Even though Hashem knows he's not the owner, Chazaka says he's the owner. Or is the Chazaka idimadu namik din Chazaka b'isurin? Let's say like this: we don't know. Did she get married or not? Somebody threw her kedushin safek karav loy, safek karav la. So Chazaka is she's single, so we allow her to remain single. Does the Chazaka say she is single? Chazaka just says we don't know what to do, so we're going to leave her in her status. It doesn't change the reality. So Elchanan wants to know, basically, how does muchzak work? Does muchzak change the reality, or does muchzak just say, we're just going to say it's yours, but it doesn't mean in reality it is yours. Again, both are mitoras vadai. Is it like bittul? Bittul means that the isser is not there. And chazaka, or is it like cheskas isser? We're not saying you're not married, but because we don't know what to do, halacha allows us to act with the conclusion that you are not married. We're not saying that's the reality in the eyes of God. God may know you're not married, but God runs this world, but He doesn't run the outcome of halacha. And Chazaka says we're going to treat it that you're vadai not married. Or does muchzak change the reality? Says Rabbi Elchanan, that is the machloikis between Rabbi Abba and Rabbi Yirmiyah regarding kam Dina or hadar Dina. Says Rabbi Elchanan, l'denira de besafek hanal nechleku hagamara in parak hachoyleitz dechad omar kam Dina. One says kam Dina afagav dahashta ikol meimar mimanavshach. One says kam Dina. What happened yesterday with the mess and the yavam that you divided it, that happened. So I got half and you got half. And the other half, the yavam is a muchzakan. And it cannot be revisited. I have a taina mimanavshach. V'chad amar hadar Dina. You ready for this machloikis? And I think this works much better in the Gemara. V'nira shebazeh nechleku. Demanda amar hadar Dina. Demanda amar Dina. Heicha de'ika l'meimar amanavshach. Where you could say, okay, but now either way you want to look at it, I get something. Sfira de v'shvil ha'muchzak lo nishtana din. Muchzak doesn't change the din. Meaning yesterday, you know what happened? Yesterday, the deceased died. The suffix says I'm his son. The Yavam said, no, you're my son. So we don't know what to do. So we divide it. I get half and you get half. Now when I'm holding my half, that's not the reality that I own half. It's that Hashem says that under the circumstances, we let each one hold on to what they're holding on to. But if there's any factors changing, then that could be re-looked at because we never said any reality has changed. There's no bittul baroiv over here. It was just the principle of chazaka allowed us to accord ourselves in a certain fashion, but that could be revisited because nobody said that's the reality. It never became his if it's not really his. It's just that until the opposing side has a mimanavshach taina, we treat it as if it's vadai his. But now that there's a mimanavshach hadar Dina, that's pshat in hadar Dina. Hadar Dina is that the chazaka is just what we call like a hanhaga, a guiding light in how to accord oneself, which could change if the factors change. But the mandamar kam Dina, he holds that when someone is a muchzak, it becomes his even though it's not his. Afilu be'emes eino shalai. So there is no mimanavshach. Because once he's a muchzak, it is his.
That would be a temporary reality subject to change.
What?
Zakah is a temporary reality that's subject to it change?
According to which sad?
According to the first opinion.
Right. Hadar Dina is right. Hadar Dina is it's Chazaka allows us. We're not even getting into the reality. It allows us to accord ourselves in a certain fashion. Now, it allowed us to accord ourselves definitively, but it doesn't really speak about what the reality is. As opposed to Kam Dina is Chazaka changes the reality that it becomes his even though it's not. Now, does this read into the Gemara? Rabbi Abba says, I could hold like Admoin. Admoin only said that we'll revisit your case You know when Admon allows someone to revisit their case? When your taina is a miman of shachtaina. But I don't understand. I thought Chazaka already changed the facts. So when you have a tainas bari, then the muchsak doesn't do that? How does that read in? You know, I'm not sure if that reads in either. How about in Rabbi Yirmiyah? Rabbi Yirmiyah will say to you that when do we say the facts stand, Kam Dina? That's when there's a definitive decision. Meaning, maybe we could say like this. In Rabbi Yirmiyah, it reads a little bit better. Rabbi Yirmiyah holds, in general perhaps, a muchsuk is just a hanhaga. Muchsuk just says we're going to accord ourselves in a certain fashion. Maybe that's because that's in a situation where we don't know what to do, where there's a genuine suffix. But when we're able to say, when each owner is able to say, get lost, maybe your share belongs by the other guy. So then under those circumstances, the muchsuk maybe changes the reality. I'm just pointing out, it seems that there are two Lomdusim in Kam Dina as opposed to Hadar Dina. You have the Trumas HaDeshen, and the Trumas HaDeshen understands the Lomdus of Kam Dina as midin Yush. You have Rabbi Elchanan who learns that the Lomdus of Kam Dina is midin the Chazaka is taking on a form of Bittul B'Raiv, so to speak, where the Chazaka actually changes the reality and then cannot be revisited. So the question is, really in either Lomdus, whether it's a Trumas HaDeshen or Rabbi Elchanan, then what flexibility is there in Kam Dina? What does it mean? We only say Kam Dina under these circumstances. What do you mean we only say it? If there's Yush, there's Yush. If the Chazaka changes reality, it changes the reality. What flexibility is there in the world of Kam Dina? So Rabbi Elchanan here, if maybe we just read briefly, does want to say maybe there's some flexibility. Even if you want to say that the muchsuk changes reality, even by Bittul B'Raiv, al karchach tzarich loymar shesibas ha'isr loy nifga'a gam b'shah sha'isr b'taruvais. You have to say that the cause of the isser is not removed even when the isser is in the mixture. Ela sha'sofek matiroi b'chol shaita v'shaita. The doubt permits it at every moment. And then if it ever becomes recognizable, the isser returns because the original siba. In other words, like this. It's an interesting idea. Look at this. Even though there's a concept of Bittul B'Raiv, let's say the Isser became recognizable again. Let's say we went to a laboratory, and the professor said, "Here, stick in this chemical, and the Isser will reconstitute." And now you look in the pot of soup, and you have a piece of chazer schmaltz. It's back. Are you allowed to eat it? No. But what do you mean? I thought the reality changed. No, the reality didn't change. It's every moment we had a reason to change the reality. But that which originally caused the Isser was never removed from existence. So if it ever became recognizable, so too, so it would resurface. So
that would fit well with a tinus bari then.
That would fit well. So that what? That when do we say Kam Dina?
Is when there's no tinus bari. But if there's a tinus bari, then it's possible to reverse that the heter that we're allowing.
When do we say Kam Dina? That's when the Isser doesn't resurface, but so to speak, if the guy has a Tainas Bari, it's as if the cause of our original concern has resurfaced.
You could say the same thing by Trumas HaDeshen then, because we agreed it's very unlikely one person can buy all four properties, but if he truly had a path and he's buried, it's possible somebody could come and remember where the path was. So therefore he's not miyayish.
He's not miyayish because somebody could remember where the path was?
Somebody could come that wasn't in town when the court case came and said, I remember the path was there.
Yeah, but then even if 4 people own the fields and it was never sold to one person, where the halacha is that each one could push him off, because he doesn't remember?
Because he can't prove it, but once somebody, but he can hold on to that, he's not miyayish.
Okay, 1 second. Rabbi Elchanan says that even if you want to say that the way Kam Dina works is the muhsuk changes reality, but even in the world of Bittul Baraiv, if the Isser ever became recognizable, then it would be Asr. He says, this part's not on here. V'hachinami b'safik mamoin, in be'emes hu shel ha'moitzi, after nasa atar shel ha'muchsim, mikamagim sibo shel bailam loy pakim ha'moitzi, v'im yizbarer ha'safik achar kach, sheyova Eliyahu, lo yitztorech ha'moitzi lasas kinyan chadash. So you want to say that's the pshat in the taina of Bari in Rabbi Elchanan? That Rabbi Abba says, I could say like Admain. That is, even though Chazak already paskind, but Admon wouldn't say in that case, because in this case now I have a man of Shach taina. So now that it was sold to one person, so now there's no chazaka here. So now it's like the Isser resurfaced. By the way, then Rabbi Elchanan quotes the Trumas HaDeshen, and Rabbi Elchanan doesn't ask our question, but he basically asks our question, because the Gemara says that if Eliyahu Hanavi would come. Here's the issue. The Gemara says by Takva Kayin that if Eliyahu Hanavi would come, then you would be able to get it back without making a kinyan. So Rabbi Elchanan says, Bishlam my pshat, even though the muhsuk changed the reality, but now that Eliyahu Hanavi comes, so it's like it becomes hukar ha'isr. And the Isser resurfaces, and the ownership resurfaces, and we wanted to say maybe if you have a Tainas Bari also it resurfaces. But he says according to the Trumas HaDeshen that it's Al Tziyush then Yiyush can never change. Once you're miyayish on something, that can never change. Maybe the idea that a muchsuk changes reality, it only changes the reality so long as there are no additional factors. Okay, Mar Rabbi Sai, we have what to think about. So basically, we have the Trumas HaDeshen who learns Kam Dina is midin Yiyush, and Rabbi Elchanan who learns it's through the strength of the muchsak, which is debatable whether a muchsak is like bittul b'roiv or only like cheskas iser. Okay, Rabbi said that's what I got for you today. Have a great day. Bracha v'atzlacha. Enjoy the rest of the day.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.